Good morning, and welcome to this live edition. Who the fuck cast that guy with Uncle Nicky? Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. You're saying to yourself, Uncle Nicky, this was a simple premise, all right? You had community service you had to do. You had movies you had to review. You collected a list of those movies. We were going to work through the list. We were going to start scratching off names, right? We were going to be ticking off tickets, right? It's going to be nice. It was going to be smooth. It was going to be clean. Oh, how wrong I was. After the first couple of weeks, oh, look what happened. I had more titles added. Why? Because the judge decided that I was doing such a bang up job that I needed to add on a couple more weeks for bad behavior. All right, fine, not a problem. I've done my time before. I can do my time again. Easy enough. Smooth as can be, right? Like Jif peanut butter. So I thought to myself, okay, this week it'll just be another regular episode. It'll be like every other episode that we do. I'll just pick a name out of the hat. I did pick a name, as a matter of fact. I picked aliens. I was like, oh yeah, this is a good one to go with. All right, cool. All right, aliens, also known as futuristic Karen, complains to a corporation that there was a bug infestation on her last space yacht. So she gets sent to a resort where the same said bug infestation is in hopes that she will be able to alleviate that infestation. We'll get to it though, because I had everything queued up. I was ready to go. I had everything formed. I had all of my ducks in a fucking row, right? And then what happens? About 3 nights ago, I'm asleep, all right? I got my Tom Brady, you know, blanket pulled up underneath my chin. I'm sleeping comfortably. My 6 Guinnesses are sitting on my nightstand just in case I need a drink in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, there's a bright blue light, like unto this light over here, right? And I awake to see the Force Ghost of of Matt Damon. And I thought to myself, wait a second, Matty, you're not dead. And he's like, no, I fucking ain't, but here's the deal. Did you know that this week ends with May the 4th? And I was like, no, ghost of Matt Damon, I did not know that. And he was like, do you know what May the 4th is? And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's the fourth day in May. And he's like, what the fuck is the matter with you? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that May the 4th is a high holy day amongst little dweebs like you. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking? You know what, man? You were a force ghost in my bedroom. All right. First of all, it's a good thing that my first impulse wasn't to throw off this blanket and fight you because I don't know if you want to be looking at all the Irish pride at the same fucking time, that pal. He's like, oh, that's disgusting. But here's the thing. You're going to either review the Ewok movies this week on your show, or I'm going to haunt you every single night for weeks on end. I was like, I mean, there could be worse things. I had exes that, just hung around way too long. And he was like, and I'll sing Sweet Caroline off key. And I was like, oh, get the fuck out of here. Fine. Force Ghost of Matt Damon, I shall. And so here we are. I shall in this episode, this very special live episode of Who the Fuck Cast That Guy with Uncle Nicky, I will endeavor to explain the Ewok movies, also known as the Star Wars movies, to prove that everyone who is angry at the prequels don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they are angry at the wrong white girl. But also, this may prove something canonically that none of you were fucking ready for. Because with the brain that I got, I put together some things. So buckle the fuck up, because here we go. All right? You ready? You got your donkeys? Yeah, you nice and comfy? Good. All right. Now, if you don't remember the Ewok movies or the theater releases well, that's because they didn't have theater releases in the States. All right? They released internationally, and the only place that they saw the inside of theaters in the United States was at CIA interrogation centers. So let's hearken into the mythological world of the Ewok movies. Be prepared. It's gonna fucking go down. A long time ago, in a galaxy we already know about. All right, Sam the Snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer decided that he needed to tell us a story about those fucking little drop bears with their opposable thumbs from Return of the Jedi. But he also needed to tell a story that almost nearly boned the canon of Star Wars without breaking a fucking sweat. I will take this opportunity. If I had a neon sign that read George Lucas wrote this, it would pop up right here and right fucking now. Because George Lucas did, in fact, write these. He was involved. So, the whole thing starts off with a kid, her brother, her mother, and her father. They crash land on the forest moon of Endor in an effort to alleviate the insomnia of the audience. Be prepared. This is going to be the most boring set of fucking Lord of the Rings knockoffs you ever fucking experienced. Here we go. So, this kid, the kid's brother, the older brother, the mother, and the father, they crash on the forest moon of Endor before Return of the Jedi. This is very important that I am saying this. I want you to really remember that throughout the course of two things you need to take away right here, right now. Fucking George Lucas wrote these, was involved in the writing of these, and fucking this all takes place before Return of the Jedi. All of it, both movies. All right? It is very important that you know those two things, but put a pin in them. All right? Put a pin in them. We'll get back to it. All right. Now, the kid and her brother, all right, get their parents. They're hanging out. Like, they're trying to fix the ship. The dad's, like, under the hood doing the whole, I'll figure it out. And the mother and the kids are like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. All of a sudden, all right, all of a sudden, out of fucking nowhere, the parents are stolen by a belligerent nudist cousin of Hordak from She-Ra. All right? He's big. He's got the ear. I mean, look at his fucking face. Look at Hordak. Look at the two of them and tell me the only reason Hordak did not kick that motherfucker out of the family was because, one, he's larger, so obviously there's a little bit of a competition thing going on, but two, very clearly, this monster thing that stole the kid's parents fucking, can also grow hair. And I'm sure Hordak was very hot up about that shit. So here we go. All right. So the kids, right? The little girl and her brother, they're like, what the fuck happened? We don't know what happens. Also, I can't help but point out that this kid, the older brother, he's like a whinier, darker haired version of fucking Luke Skywalker. Like, he's a little bit of an asshole, all right? But all of his clothing, you say, oh, look, he and Luke shop at the same fucking places, and that's pretty all right? Maybe it's just hard to find clothes for white boys in a galaxy far, far away. Who's to say? But I digress. So the kid and her brother, right? They're just hanging out. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do now that this, like, naked furry thing with, like, a bat face decided to steal their parents and, like, carry them off. For food? For Boom Boom in the room? Who's to say? You have no clue. Maybe he needed somebody to judge his impressionist art. We're not aware, all right? All we know is that at some point, giant Grizzly Adams-looking fucking Hordak-faced motherfucker puts them in a rudimentary, wooden cage that he's hanging up by a rope in his giant cave, which is very clearly a soundstage, but we're not going to pick on him. All right. So the kid and her brother decide, oh, we're going to have to go find a way to fucking save mom and dad, obviously. But all of a sudden, while they're traversing the woods, they get attacked by a giant claymation boar. It's very clearly claymation. You see that thing and you say to yourself, weren't you in that really cheap fucking Jason and the Argonauts motherfucking movie Clash of the Titans? Back in the day. Back in the day. Not the one where Liam Neeson was fucking Zeus. No, the early one. The early one. The early one. Yeah. So it's a claymation boy. And the claymation boy's like, I'm gonna motherfucking eat you. And both the kids are like, oh my God. So they go to hide in a fucking tree. All right. And then it cuts to black. Because it very clearly was designed for there to be commercial breaks in this movie. A movie that was released into theaters in Europe had built-in commercial break fade-outs. But I digress. So, the two kids, they decide to sleep in the tree while the boy just doesn't know how to get at them because the boy's like, I don't happen to be a drop bear with opposable thumbs and the ability to build spears, so I'm just going to keep walking around the perimeter of this tree while you two take a nap. And that fucking happens. And all of a sudden, they awaken. They awaken as we come back from the fade out, which very clearly probably had an ad for Tide somewhere buried betwixt the two. But, so the kids are in this tree, and all of a sudden, they awaken to find Ewoks fighting the boar. Or, if you don't know what the fuck Ewoks are, you're a blonde-headed moppet of a kid whose older brother is an asshole, and you're in a tree watching a bunch of very small bears fucking fight off a claymation boar with sticks that are pointy. Okay, a little bit scary. You don't know. We are living in the age of the man versus bear argument, and in this instance, I don't know. All right? I don't know. So, Ewoks fight off the claymation boar, and it's like, oh, it's very tense, but it's not because it's fucking a made-for-TV movie. And then the boar is gone, and the kids decide, hey, those guys have spears and they have thumbs. We're gonna go with them. You know what? Apparently, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, parents didn't teach kids about stranger danger. Oh, and we're gonna loop back around to that shit. But we got time. All right. So the kids go with the little drop bears with opposable thumbs, proving once more that people trust bears more than men. The kids go back to the Ewok village, up there in the trees. They get the cardio in because they obviously had to walk on the spiral staircases that led up, or some rudimentary elevator system that we are unaware of. It doesn't fucking matter. One way or the other. Hard cut, we're in the trees. Okay, cool. And we're in the Ewok village, right? With Wicket and all of his furry pals, all right? For why? Who's to say? So, there we are, right? And we're sitting amidst a council of these little bears who don't have English yet. And all at once, this wizened old one with a stick and a bone helmet thing going on walks up and he puts down a top and it spins. And all at once, this magical spinning toppy thing shows all of them where the parents are. Gives apparently geographic location and GPS coordinates. Who's to say? But the point is the Ewok uses magic to discover the location of the lost parents. And then proceeds to give every member of the search party a MacGuffin that will magically solve a problem that they will face along the way. I need you to put a pin also in the magic. Okay? 3 pins now you're holding down. Okay? Now the older brother gets a rock. All right. Which he refuses. And then he gets told to chug. Mystical, magical old Ewok says, here's a rock and you get to chug. Choose, kid. It's an ultimatum. And he decides, best leave it alone. So he takes the rock and he continues to be a whiny little shit. And that's fine. You know what? You are who you are. It's not like you're going to get killed later on. So they begin their soulless $20 reenactment of The Lord of the Rings until it's just fucking them walking. It's just them fucking walking. Oh, there's the woods. Oh, there's a clearing. Oh, I'm pretty sure I see the roof of LucasArts. We're not going to pick on that. Put a pin. We're going to forget that happened. Maybe they deleted it. Maybe they didn't. The map paintings are gorgeous. Oh, we're on an alien world. And all of a sudden, they run across a Lumbasnack Ewok. Yes, I did just say Lumbasnack Ewok. You're welcome for that visual. Who challenges, and this Lumbasnack Ewok, he's not out there singing. He's not out there doing his yub nubs. He's not out there doing anything in particular. He's just out there and all of a sudden challenges the older brother to an axe throwing contest. Because why the fuck not? We have to fill the time allotment that is required by the Cheerios company, who is very clearly paying for us to put this on television. Older brother wins said axe throwing competition, and the Lumbasnack Ewok decides to join them. And around here, around this part of the movie, all right, around this portion, not even the third act of the first film, it's very important, Ewoks start recognizing, and Wicket starts repeating English words and phrases. Again, George Lucas wrote this before Return of the Jedi. We already know that the Ewoks have magic, and now they're picking up what is in the world of Star Wars known as basic. Okay. So they continue on. Cheap little $20 reenactment of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the fucking Build-A-Bears, what the fuck ever. And they come across another magical Ewok, right? Okay. They come across an Ewok who has magical powers, who can do this weird green glowy thing. Maybe it's a Green Lantern ring. Who's to fucking say? We don't know. If there was a Green Lantern on the forest moon of Endor, would we know about it? No, because all they know to do at this point is say yub nub, and it's not exactly like they're going to share that information with any pale-skinned, melanin-deprived asshole who wanders through their woods, are they? No. Oh, and so what is this magical, mystical Ewok, this other mage-like Ewok do? He creates a lizard that scares off the asshole kid. But little mobbit of a girl picks up the lizard and it becomes a white mouse. And so the magical Ewok says, fuck it, I'll go with you guys. Apparently you got the power. That's fine. It's okay. George Lucas wrote this. I need you to realize that he did. Because then a bunch of shit that doesn't really matter happens. All the while, occasionally there are moments where you were just informed of everything you fucking need to know by Sam the Snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Oh, except for the fact that Sam has nothing to inform you about when the older brother touches a puddle of water and gets sucked underneath the water. Or when a horse that is carrying a tent on its back decides to run away with the kids on it. Or when a bunch of fireflies try to kill the Fellowship of the Rejected Care Bears. And they're all saved by the little girl who breaks out her fucking MacGuffin, and it's a little candle, lights that candle, and all of the fireflies are like, we could burn these motherfuckers to the ground and save everybody their mental health for the next 60 minutes of this film, because there's still 60 minutes at this point. But no, you know what we're going to do? We're just all going to get sucked into the little girl's candle, and that's what it's going to be. Maybe she'll put it to use later. Who's to say? Apparently, there is a lot of magic going on the forest moon of Endor before Return of the Jedi. Put a motherfucking pin in it. So, Sam the Snowman, right? He doesn't bother narrating any of the weirdness that I just described. You know why? Because he's as mentally fucking checked out as you and I are at this point. And that's cool because it doesn't really matter. Finally, about, after enough wide shots, we get to the mountain. The mountain that contains their parents, we're supposing. Why are we supposing that? Because we have to assume that they had GPS coordinates because it's not exactly like anybody fucking spoke, and none of the Care Bears have fucking maps. So how did they know? I'm only assuming that somewhere built inside of them is a little voice that was planted there by the magical one who's just like, continue on your merry way. Travel 300 more feet and then turn right at that giant cedar. Okay, sure, why not? Until we finally reach our destination. Cool, we're here. Great, fantastic. So the kids and the little drop bear looking motherfuckers go into the mountain and they are assaulted. They are assaulted by the maker of giant, very fake webbing. They are pounced upon by a giant pipe cleaner monster. Now, my notes down here say that this was supposed to be a spider. But you look at those still images of that fucking movie and you tell me that it's a spider. I am more comfortable saying that given the amount of magic that is on Endor, that they were able to transmutate a bunch of fucking pipe cleaners to life. And I know some of you ain't so great with arachnids, and that's all right. You don't have to worry. You know why? Because they stop fighting it, and all of a sudden you see Wicket's eyes go black, and his usual jovial look on his very animatronically deprived face goes still, and his mental stability just snaps. And in that moment, he goes straight ice pick for the center mass of pipe cleaner monster. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, stab it one time and it'll die or it'll retreat. Like unto Lord of the Rings or Return of the King and the Sam interaction with that giant, ugly son of a bitch. You know what? No, Wicket just continues to fucking lay there and stab the thing and stab it and stab it and stab it and stab it. And you'll go into yourself, dude, it's dead. Are you working something out of your system? Do we need to get some kind of mental health professional for you? Is there somebody who can talk you through the yubs and the nubs of your recovery? Because remember, at this point, this takes place before Return of the Jedi, so it is safe to assume that Wicket is really, really young. Okay. So now that they've killed the pipe cleaners, they find the cave, or should I say, the wall, the soundstage covered in rocks. And the older brother finds it, and they're trying to be as stealthy as possible, and they do pull off some of the stealth rolls, and it's fantastic, right? And you're like, okay, cool. There's the giant wick about, that's some really great craftsmanship. Maybe this giant monster is a little bit more intelligent than we'll give it credit for. You know, I mean, its brain capacity could be larger than ours, and then it spins around. And oddly enough, all of the camera work is done from like giant naked Hordak's belly button up, and you're thinking to yourself, "I'm wondering if it's hanging ham." Maybe you're just kind of like, choices were made. This was a PG film. Maybe we needed to make sure that nothing was on screen, like, because the Ewoks, they are short, and there's a possibility every time Nude Hordak whips around, like they're catching like a whole baloney in a face. And sure, that would have been glorious to see just to kind of like level out the absurdity of this film, but it doesn't happen. The older brother, he scales the fake rock walls, and he jumps over to the giant basket that his parents are in. It's like, I'm going to free you. Meanwhile, little blonde Moppet relights that magical MacGuffin candle, and all the fireflies pop out and they attack Naked Hordak's cousin. You know, while the magical Ewok, remember that magical Ewok with the green light, like that it was on the end of his stick, that also turned the thing into a lizard, and then she turned it into a white mouse because apparently she has magical powers too. Put a pin in it. Like magical Ewok goes, ha ha, a shiny light in your face, and the evil Naked Hordak falls into a pit, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's nearly there. But it catches itself on the edge, and you're like, oh, they've nearly defeated the monster. And all of a sudden, a callback happens, and the older asshole brother throws an axe at the Naked Hordak, catches it, and the whole thing perishes in a cave. It just falls to its death down a pit that I'm sure was probably way deeper than 3 feet, leading down to a giant mattress that the actor playing the giant Hordak monster fell onto. Okay, cool. Now, they've saved the parents, and Naked Hordak monster has fallen to its death. But at what cost? For during the losing of its damn mind, the Naked Hordak slammed into the soundstage walls, and fake rocks fell upon the lumber snack Ewok. And thus he died there, in the den of that Naked Hordak monster. I'd mourn, but I'm going to be honest with you, wherever he's going is way better than where he was. So, Nude Hordak is dead. The family is back together. A butt ton of Ewok magic occurred on screen, all right? The family flies away, right? Or does it? Ha ha! Now, there are one or two things that transpired, all right? Because I have now transitioned from the first Ewok movie, Caravan of Courage, into Battle for Endor, I think is the fucking name. I don't fucking know. I was too busy trying to not scream internally so loud that I spontaneously combusted. Starts the second movie, all right? Now, there's two things that may have transpired here, and I don't know which one is the way you got to look at this. They either left Endor, they either fixed the ship and left Endor and came back 6 months later, or they were stranded on Endor. I shouldn't say Endor, the forest moon of Endor, for 6 months, because we are informed that there is a 6-month gap betwixt the two movies, between the credits of the first movie and the opening frames of the second movie. We are informed that there were 6 months. Now, either they left and came back, or they were on the planet the entire time, and those 6 months was so harrowing, and the father was so incapable of fixing their shuttle that the mother smothered the father in his sleep, and then used internet dating to remarry the principal from the Breakfast Club. Because as we open on the second film, same moppet little motherfucking girl, same asshole of a brother, same mother, but now they're calling the principal from the Breakfast Club daddy. And he's still trying to fix the motherfucking shuttle. Now, here's the thing. All right? We find ourselves without a comfort blanket in this scenario. We surrender one comfort blanket to discover a giant koala of comfort later on in the narrative of this second movie, because Sam the Snowman did not come back. All right, he abandoned Endor, much like God has abandoned each and every one of us in this very moment. So the kid is either visiting or has been there for 6 months. And as we enter back into this little narrative, we are greeted by a wicked who can now speak broken sentences. Okay? Wicket knows English. 6 months after the first movie, but still before Return of the Jedi. Put a pin in it. Okay. So again, either they've been off planet, the father died, and they came back to visit, and in that process, Wicket got Duolingo, or they've been stranded there the entire time, educating Wicket on English and probably the rest of the Ewoks. And they were so tired of the father being useless that the mother killed him and then started internet dating and eventually married a new hubby in what I would imagine was a quickie wedding conducted by the wizard of the Ewok village. Okay. Put a pin in the magic, the English, and George Lucas. No sooner is Wicket being the most loquacious of dust bunnies that you have to pull out of the rotor inside of your vacuum in order for it to keep sucking shit up, that some much shorter and much more clothed Hordak relatives from Shira show up with an aged evil Lynn, no less, going through what I can only describe as her punk rock Wiccan face. All right? Her hair is very Joan Jett. Her shoulder pads are enough to take out anybody's eye. And you're implied again that there is magic to be found in this individual. Great. Now the evil Hordak family members, probably pissed that their giant uncle is dead, who is to say what happened to Uncle Barry. I mean, sure, he was embarrassing at the holidays, but he was still family, right? And so they came back and they're like, hey, you killed our fucking uncle. We're gonna fucking kill all of you. And they do. They kill the blonde Moppet's brother. Sure, he was an asshole, but he didn't deserve to die. The mother, you know, maybe they're not into second marriages, who's to say? And eventually kill the principal from the Breakfast Club. They're all dead. The little girl is all that is left. Wicket, and she run off to be safe. Meanwhile, the evil Hordak relatives gather up all the other Ewoks and decide that they're going to and decide that they're going to borrow the power cell from the family's broken down shuttle. All right? So they have the forethought to steal the power cell and take all of the Ewoks. All right? So they go off to wherever they live. All right? And they do their thing. They do what they do. Okay, cool. Meanwhile, Wicket and the little blonde Moppet are running scared. And they go to hide in a cave and they come across this monster. And you're like, oh dear God. And Wicket MacGyver's a hang glider out of leather and bones. Because really, at this point, why not? You know? It's like they got magic, they got speech, they got the Newtonian laws of motion and basic engineering. I mean, really, what else do they need? They should be good, right? I'm sure they're fine. Sure. You know, you got all this at your disposal. You bunch of bronze-aged Build-A-Bears. The fuck ever. Sure, I'll accept this. All semblance of reality is gone. They might as well use said bone and leather, hang glider to just sail right over the shark. It's fine. It's fine. So they use it and they glide along, and the monster, it can fly too. So they follow, right? They go and they're nearly escaped. And all of a sudden they crash. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, great. They're on foot. What are they going to do? And Wicket and the little blonde Moppet comes across a half-melted carnival rabbit stuffed animal that very clearly has been run over. And it has the powers of speech, because of course, why not? Sure, that makes sense. And that disheveled acid trip of a meerkat and a rabbit leads them to the Endor home of one Wilfred Brimley. That's right. We have been left in this ungodly world by Sam the Snowman, and instead we are provided the wisdom, the know-how, and and dare I say the diabetes of Wilfred Hezekiah Brimley, cementing the truth in all of our minds, a truth that we've all felt in our hearts for as long as we've known. That old caterpillar-faced man is an alien and simply leaves the planet after instilling in its populations the dangers of diabetes and the wonders of Quaker oats. So, Wilfred Jedediah Brimley has been stranded on the forest moon of Endor while fixing his ship, because apparently every fucking ship crashes on the forest moon of Endor. And oddly enough, the only thing his ship still requires is a power cell. How convenient! What? So, the Hordak Horde realizes that they can't operate the giant Energizer battery, so they lead there's the lead skeletal simian-faced guy who every time he talks, his jaws do that thing that Dr. Zaius' jaws do in Planet of the Apes. Where you're kind of like, they're not really mouthing words as much as they're gumming them. He informs his Joan Jett wannabe that she's going to have to go get the kid, the blonde-head moppet. You know why? Because they fucking killed every other fucker who could tell them what to do with the power cell. So they're hoping the smallest, youngest, and let's say dumbest of them will be able to fix the whole issue for them. So Evil Lynn uses her magic. Again, a lot of magic on the forest moon of Endor. Put a pin in that one. Again, we lifted the pin. We're putting it back. Okay, cool. And the kid, so she uses this magic that she has at her disposal. And she takes that. And she haunts the kid's nightmares, right? She creates nightmares for the child, in which the child runs into the night from Wilfred Winifred Brimley's house, runs screaming into the night, and finds what she thinks is a magical lady who will help her. Nope. It's evil Joan Jett and Evil Lynn's baby, who steals the little blonde curly moppet and takes her back to Hordak. Okay, cool. Well, not cool, but what the fuck are you supposed to do in this situation? You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, oddly enough, when they take the kid back to the Hordak's relatives, oh my God, she informs them that she doesn't know how to use the power cell. Shock and awe amongst all of us. I mean, don't we? What are we supposed to do? You know? So we cut back to Wilfred Erasmus Brimley, who gathers his gear in the most geared up moment that you've ever seen in a movie that doesn't include a power ballad. And it cuts nobly to his stunt double running quickly into the woods with Wicked and his melted bunny thing in tow. Wilfred Ulysses Brimley decides that these movies have gone on for too long, and thus he uses his stealth capabilities in his ripe old age of 85, 186, who's to say, sneaks into Hordak's castle, which for all we know is the same mountain range. It's to the left of naked giant Hordak's mountain. Who's to say? But it's a fucking castle, and you say to yourself, there's a castle on the forest moon of Endor, put a pin in it. He breaks in, he frees the kid, he steals the power cell, he frees the rest of the Ewoks. They all make a break for it into the woods. It's all going to be all right. Or is it? Bit of a tedious back and forth at this point, really. It's broken. The tedium of it, this war between the Ewoks and really badly masked Hordak knockoffs, it rages for about 2.5 minutes or until the budget runs out. But the monotony of it is broken when Wilfred Gregorian Brimley engages in a wood stick versus sword battle. Sure, the whole thing takes less than 30 seconds. Sure, it makes the very dubious decision to cut to a hard side angle, so you kind of sort of spend the entire time looking at the face of the person who's dressed like Wilfred Dionysus Brimley, but you kind of say to yourself, is it him though? I don't know. Anyway, they blow through that $20 of the budget, and then all of a sudden, amidst the deadly antics, the Ewoks just wipe out all of the other Hordaxes. Hordaxi? Hordaxium? I don't know. Anyway, the pivotal moment, though, right? The pivotal moment is upon it. When you're thinking to yourself, there he is. Wilfred Pegasus Brimley fighting the Hordak relative who Hordak doesn't invite to the family holiday meals. Both movies were worth sitting through for this moment as Wilfred Ozymandias Brimley, stunt double, fights Twitchy Dave, the second cousin of somebody sheer erect every fucking time they fought. And you're thinking to yourself, we have witnessed true brutality in this movie. The death of a family. The multiple stab wounds of a giant pipe cleaner monster. Now, Wilfred Brimley will slay this beast with his stick, but no. For Wicket, using a sling and a rock, whips a rock at the lead Hordak cousin's chest, and it hits a magical red ring that hangs around his neck. Again, red ring, red lanterns, DC LucasArts crossover. Who's to say? But hits the thing, and all of a sudden, oh dear God, he realizes what's going on, and the Hordak, he drops the sword, he grabs the thing. Instead of throwing it away from yourself, he grabs it and he holds it, and he is both simultaneously burnt to death and petrified. And so the Ewoks, having fought 2 ridiculous battles, gone through 2 ridiculous movies, and have learned English, and apparently had magic the entire fucking time, settle back in as Wilfred Hezekiah Brimley, who we have just met, claims the little blonde-haired child, puts her into his shuttle, pops the power cell into it, and flies off. Now, I realize that over the course of several years in the 80s, we came to trust Wilfred Nicodemus Brimley. Okay? We did. We all respect Wilfred Justinian Brimley and his ability to teach us about the evils of diabetes, the glory of Quaker Oats, and how capable he is of riding a horse. But his mother, this is the fucking old guy in the woods with a van. Did he tell her there was candy in it before loading her in and just flying off? Wicket doesn't give it no never mind. None of the Ewoks, including the one that very clearly has some kind of magical cognition. Dare we call it the Force? Who's to say? But nobody just cleared the guy before sending the. Oh no, there's another simian-based race individual. We'll just cram the kid into his vehicle, get her off the fucking planet. Of course we needed to get her off the planet because no way she could have been there for when, the rebels got there, let alone the fucking Empire, who spent multiple units of time there to build a base, which generated a shield for a motherfucking star, like a fucking Death Star. Okay. So here we find ourselves at the conclusion of this duology of movies, written in part by one George Lucas. Sure, he had help, but there he was through the entire development of these movies, and he did nothing. Now, here's what we have to take away from this, all right? The Ewoks, they had magic, right? They had magic, and they decided not to use it against the Empire, nor did they decide to use it in favor of the fucking rebels. Also, for a race of beings that know what magic is, or at least what we are assumed to be magic, which again could very well be the Force, because as we know, the Force flows through everybody. You could have stopped and thought to yourself, oh, okay, the Ewoks have the Force. So when Luke uses the Force, they all freak the fuck out. For why? Second pin we're going to pull and examine as the note falls to the floor. Wicket knows English, but does not use it when Leia ends up in the Forest Moon of Endor. So, did Wicket forget it? Did Wicket just disregard it and just like, oh, I don't need to remember how this language works, so we're just going to leave it alone? Even though I was speaking full sentences like 5 minutes ago, I'm abandon it. Or do they all know English and they're just that level of assholes that they're not actually using it when Luke, Leia, and Han show up? And lastly, but not leastly, and this is the thing. This is the thing that I now consider canon because of this entire debacle in that last frame of that last fucking movie that the ghost of Matt Damon made me watch. I now have to wonder, and will always wonder, after that little blonde-haired moppet flies off with that old man in that ship, based on the severe PTSD that this kid probably developed, after having survived both of these films, having to deal with randomly hearing the voice of Sam the Snowman, watching her family die after a divorce, take all of this mental trauma. Oh, and also having evil visions planted in your head by a really questionable 80s female villain who, by the end of the movie, is nothing more than a crow on the Forest Moon of Endor, because apparently they have crows. Take all of that. Take all of that, if you will. All of this experience that that little child went through. Okay? Take all of it. And now you have to wonder, along with me, if having survived those two films, she does not, in an effort to find mental stability and also in in a general disdain for non-human-like species, you now also, like me, have to wonder if she will go on to become Captain Phasma of the First Order. Yeah, yeah. You don't know. You don't know. I can't tell you. I cannot genuinely tell you. She could very well become Captain Phasma. And what the fuck could we do about it? The answer is nothing. There's no way out of this, guys. This is the way that this had gone on. Who's to say? Nobody can tell you otherwise. I can't tell you for certain. George Lucas certainly can't, because it's not exactly like Georgie Boy was helping us through this entire thing. None of this will aid you in the betterment of your mental health now. You are in this pit with me. All right? We have descended past the level of the iceberg, and there is no saving us now. So, the next time somebody in your general vicinity decides to give the prequel shit, remind them of exactly what happened before the prequels came along. So I'm going to tell you right now, they're giving Ray a lot of bull crap, given the fact that we had to deal with Sindel and that shit beforehand. So, I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of the mods of mischief, every one of you for watching, everybody who's enjoyed this. I'm Uncle Nicky reminding you, Wilfred Brimley was in this film. And who the fuck cast that guy? I'll tell you. Thanks, everybody. And may the force be with you, because it definitely is not with me. I'm going to go drink now. Thanks.